Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tournament or GPP plays for this Week 12 NFL Draftkings main slate, and like I always do, I'm going to kick it off with a couple of my favorite game stacks, and then we'll dive into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks. With that being said, let's get right into this. And before I break down these game stacks here, just want to mention one more time before I leave on vacation tomorrow that I will in fact be on vacation tomorrow through next Sunday, and I will not be making YouTube content while out on vacation. I will, however, be active in my Discord channel. If you have not joined that yet, it is completely free to do so. Link in the description below on this video. Or if you want to get an invite, just let me know in a comment here and I can send it to you there. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of game stacks that I like here for this Week 12 main slate. Now, I'm going to highlight this game between the Bills and Eagles and that game between the Jaguars and Texans. But two other games that I really like in terms of stacking up this weekend is that game between the Buccaneers and Colts. I think you can do a little mini stack there with Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, and run it back with Jonathan Taylor. And then that game between the Cardinals and Rams. I like stacking up Kyler Murray with Trey McBride and then running it back with Kyren Williams and or Cooper Kupp. You could even go Puka Nacua there as well. But the first game I'm going to highlight here is this game between the Bills and Eagles. I like stacking up Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid, and then running it back with Devontae Smith. Now, there's a number of different routes that we can go in this game as well. You could mix in DeAndre Swift here, AJ Brown, or even if you want to save a little bit more money, you could pivot off of Stephon Diggs to Gabe Davis. You save about $3,000 there. But this game here has an implied total of 48.5 points on the main slate, most on this main slate, so there's definitely some shootout potential. And I like attacking the Bills passing game here because this Eagles defense are a pass funnel defense. They rank 5th overall against the run this year. They've been very good in that spot, but have not been great against the pass, as I mentioned, ranking 19th overall in defensive pass DVOA. They're allowing 21.5 Draftkings points per game to quarterbacks. That's the 7th most in the NFL, and you can see they're 48 points per game to wide receivers. That's the most in the NFL. Now, I went with Devontae Smith here on the Eagles side of things because his numbers have been very good against two high safeties, and the Bills run that a lot, actually the 5th most in the NFL. And against two high safety defenses this year, Smith has seen his air yards go up to 36%, his yards per route run at 2.36, and his first read share at almost 30%. So that's why I like him, but like I said, we could go with AJ Brown here or DeAndre Swift. And then again, the other game here that I like stacking up this weekend is that game between the Jaguars and Texans, and I think we can run this from either side as well. If you wanted to roll out Trevor Lawrence with Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and or Evan Ingram, run it back with one of the Houston Texans players, I absolutely think that's in play too. But I like CJ Stroud here stacked up with Tank Dell and Nico Collins, and then running it back with Evan Ingram, and that's largely due to how low owned CJ Stroud is projected here this week, and coming in right now at less than 5% ownership, so I'll absolutely take advantage of that, especially in tournaments like this. Now, this game here has an implied total of 47.5 points. That's the 2nd most on the main slate, so definitely some shootout potential here. Like I said, we could stack it up from either side, but I like attacking this from the Houston side due to the low ownership, and then running it back with Evan Ingram because that Texans defense has been bad against tight ends all year long, allowing 16.5 Draftkings points per game. That's the 2nd most in the NFL and the 4th most receiving yards to the tight end position. Now, folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. We're less than 400 subs away here to get to 4,000 on SlyDog Sports. We're trying to get there by the end of 2023. That is my goal. If you haven't subbed yet here today and you can do that, again, I would really appreciate it. Alright, now diving into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks here, we're going to kick it off with another quarterback that I like this weekend, and that's going to be Baker Mayfield. And I kind of name dropped this earlier, stacking up this game between the Buccaneers and Colts. I want to mention this here. If you look at the Colts home games this year, they're averaging 57 points per game. That's part of the reason I like stacking this one up here in tournaments this week. Baker here really affordable at $5,500, where we would need 22 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. And this Colts defense defense has not been good against the pass this year, allowing 22 DraftKings points per game to quarterbacks. That's the 6th most in the NFL, and they've been beat up by outside wide receivers. I'm going to talk about that once we get into the wide receiver position, but like I said, it's an easy stack here with Baker and Mike Evans, and then we can run it back with someone like Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, or even Josh Downs if we're looking to save money. Now, moving on to the running backs here, and I did talk about a handful of different running backs and wide receivers in my cash plays video yesterday that will absolutely be in my tournament pool here this weekend as well. So if you haven't watched that video yet, make sure you go check that out. But one running back that I like here this week at home in a great matchup is Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans, priced at $6,400, playing the Carolina Panthers, where we would need 25.6 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. Now, he has been significantly better when at home compared to on the road this year, and I'm going to read his splits here right now. At home this year, he's averaging 100 rushing yards per game and close to 21 DraftKings points per game. Compared to on the road, he's averaging just 44 rushing yards per game and 9 DraftKings points per game. Plus, this matchup here could not be better for him at home against this Panthers defense, who ranked dead last in the NFL in defensive rush DVOA, and they've allowed 29.6 DraftKings points per game to the position this year. That's the 2nd most in the NFL. And then another running back that I like on the tournament side of things here this week is Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers, priced at $5,400 on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals, where we would need 21.6 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. He has been on a tear here, especially as of late. Over his last 3 games, he's averaging 9.1 yards per carry. Look at that again, 9.1 yards per carry. That is absolutely ridiculous. And this is also a guy who's heavily involved in the passing game for the Steelers, averaging 4.2 targets per game this season. And this is a great matchup for him to continue this mini hot streak that he's on against the Cincinnati defense, who ranked 30th overall in defensive rush DVOA. Now, diving into the wide receivers here, first guy that I want to highlight is Mike Evans. Mentioned this earlier, we can stack him up with Baker Mayfield, priced at $7,400 on the road against the Colts, where we would need 29.6 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. Volume has not been an issue for Mike Evans this year, been the #1 target for Baker all year long, with a 24% target share, 39% air yard share, and a 24% red zone share. Really like that number there. And this Colts defense has not been great against wide receivers, especially perimeter wide receivers, where Mike Evans plays. They've allowed 40.2 DraftKings points per game to wide receivers this year, and that's the 9th most in the NFL. Now, running it back in that game between the Bucs and Colts, like I said, we could go with Jonathan Taylor, but he is projecting to be very popular this week. You could save some money with Josh Downs. I don't mind that play at all. He's $4,800 at the wide receiver position, but I wanted to highlight Michael Pittman here at $6,800. The numbers have been great for him this year playing with Gardner Minshew, where he's seen a 30% target share, 32% air yard share, and a 41% red zone share. Now, at this price here, we need 27.2 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. This is a matchup where he can do that. This Buccaneers defense has not been great against wide receivers, especially as of late, allowing 46.4 DraftKings points per game to the position. That's the 2nd most in the NFL since week 6. Now, one of the value plays that I like here this week in the low 4K range is Rashid Shaheed of the New Orleans Saints, priced at $4,300 in a matchup on the road against the Atlanta Falcons, where we would need 17.2 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. With Michael Thomas getting injured here in week 10, which was 2 weeks ago, Saints are coming off of a bye, we saw Shaheed move into the wide receiver #2 spot behind Chris Olave, where he saw 9 targets in that game versus Minnesota. He's that boom-bust type of guy as well, right? He could truly meet value at this price in 1 or 2 different plays, and this Falcons defense has not been great against the pass, ranking 30th overall in defensive pass DVOA, so if Rashid has a touchdown from 50-60 yards out, we could be meeting value just right there. And then I got a couple of tight ends here for you, highlighted 2 earlier in the game stacks, did talk about a few in my cash plays video yesterday as well, so I wanted to get a little different here on the tournament side of things, a really high price guy and a really low price guy. The high price guy is pretty obvious. It's Travis Kelce here at $8,200 on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders, where we would need almost 33 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. We know the volume is never a concern with Travis Kelce. 25% target share, 23% air yard share, 31% red zone share this year. But ever since Mahomes has taken over as the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, These two have decimated this Raiders defense. You can see Kelsey's numbers there since 2018. He averages 9.1 targets, 6.9 catches, 87 receiving yards, and close to 1 full touchdown per game against this Raiders defense. But if you're really looking to save some money at the tight end position here this week, even off of those value plays in the 4K range, Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers stuck out to me here at $2,900. Again, on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals, where we would need 11.6 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. Yes, he just got back from injury last week, and he hasn't been terrific this year, but he's still a young tight end. He's 6'5", he's a massive guy, and he is someone who can go for 15 plus DraftKings points. He does have 2 touchdowns in 4 games this year for what it's worth. They do look for him in the red zone due to his big body and style, and this Bengals defense has not been great against tight ends this year, allowing close to 15 DraftKings points per game. That's the 4th most in the NFL. And then we're going to wrap things up here with a defense. Defense is really interesting here this week. DraftKings priced most of these defenses up in general. The cheapest one we can get is at $2,600 for the Houston Texans. Yeah, I talked about the Chiefs and Broncos in my cash plays video yesterday. I'll probably be pretty heavy on them, even though I know they probably will be popular. One defense that might fly under the radar here that I like in tournaments is the Tennessee Titans, priced at $3,400. Now, we would need 13.6 DraftKings points for them to hit 4x value, and this defense has not been great this year, but I love the matchup at home here, and we can even do a little mini stack as well with a running back in Derrick Henry and this defense. It's not something we hear talked about much these days, but it is definitely something that we can do. There is a little correlation that works between those two positions, and I just like the matchup, like I said, against a rookie quarterback here in Bryce Young, who's got 8 interceptions, 4 fumbles, 12 turnovers, and 36 sacks through 9 games this year. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on this Week 12 main slate. And in the meantime, I'm out of here.